Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Nafisa Ali and I'm an assistant professor at Northumbria University in Newcastle, United Kingdom. So today I'm going to present a talk on Gaza of Hope, Calling on Humanity. And in this presentation, I'm going to be looking at nurturing hope amidst adversity and a journey through Gaza, exploring the resilience, perseverance, and most importantly, hope that thrives amidst adversity. Before we delve into the theme of hope, let's understand Gaza. It's a land steeped in history, culture, and unfortunately conflict. Despite its challenges, Gaza has a rich heritage and resilient population. Gaza, a previously densely populated strip along the Mediterranean, has been and continues to be marred by decades of conflict, shaped by historical disputes and geopolitical complexities. Its residents face ongoing challenges. This section briefly outlines the region's troubled history, setting the stage for a deeper exploration of its multifaceted dynamics and the quest for a sustainable resolution. Gaza, often referred to as the Gaza Strip, is a narrow piece of land along the Mediterranean Sea, bordered by Israel to the north and the east and Egypt to the southwest. It is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, or previously was, with over 2 million residents living in an area about 365 kilometers, 141 square miles. Gaza, however, is a region marked by its historical significance, geopolitical complexity, and humanitarian challenges. The historical context is that Gaza's history dates back to ancient times. It has been a crossroads of civilization due to its strategic location. Throughout history, it has been ruled by various empires, including the Egyptians, Philistines, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, and Ottomans. In the modern era, following the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in World War I, Gaza was administered by the British under the Mandate system until the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has profoundly shaped Gaza's recent history. After the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Gaza was controlled by Egypt. In the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel captured Gaza along with the West Bank and other territories. The subsequent years saw increased tension and violence between Israelis and Palestinians. In 2005, Israel unilaterally disengaged from Gaza, evacuating its settlers and military presence. However, Israel maintained control over Gaza's borders, airspace, maritime access, contributing to a blockade that has heavily restricted the movement of people and goods. The blockade remained and has had severe economic and humanitarian impacts on Gaza's population. The humanitarian situation is that Gaza faces a severe humanitarian crisis, characterized by high unemployment, poverty, and inadequate access to basic services like healthcare, clean water, and electricity. And now, with the current conflict, this is even more so, with the removal of people and populations across the Gaza Strip. The blockade, combined with the destruction from repeated conflicts, has crippled Gaza's economy. According to various reports, over 80% of the population relies on humanitarian aid, which will be increasingly more in current conflict. The United Nations and numerous non-governmental organizations have called for an end and increased efforts to address the humanitarian needs of Gaza's residents. However, political and security concerns often hinder these efforts. International perspectives and peace efforts. Internationally, Gaza has remained a focal point of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Numerous peace initiatives have been proposed. However, a lasting solution has remained elusive. The situation in Gaza highlights the broader challenges of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, including issues of sovereignty, security, and human rights. The international community continues to debate and seek solutions that can address both the humanitarian needs of the Gazans and security concerns of Israel. So to conclude this slide, Gaza is a region of deep historical roots and contemporary challenges. Its residents endure significant hardships due to the ongoing conflict and political divisions. While the path to peace remains uncertain, understanding Gaza's complex history and current realities is crucial for any efforts towards a sustainable and just resolution for both Palestinians and Israelis. Challenges faced by Gaza. The Gaza Strip has been a microcosm of protracted conflict and stands at the crossroads of frequent racism, bias, and discrimination. Gaza faces a myriad of challenges that span economic, political, social, and humanitarian realms. These challenges are deeply interconnected, exacerbating the overall crisis in the region. Here we explore some of the most pressing issues that have impacted on the daily lives of Gaza's residents and region stability. So, economic challenges. Previously, blockades and restrictions. Since Hamas took control of Gaza in 2007, Israel and Egypt have imposed a blockade restricting the movement of people and goods in and out of the territory. This has led to severe economic isolation, stifling trade and investment. With the forced movement of people in Gaza with the recent conflict, the restrictions have become increasingly more. Unemployment and poverty. Gaza's economy is severely hampered by the blockades, resulting in one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, especially among young people and graduates. As of recent reports previously, the unemployment rates hovered around 50%, with youth unemployment exceeding 70%, and over 80% of the population were living below the poverty line, which will be even higher to date. With repeated conflicts, this has left Gaza's infrastructure in ruins. Essential services such as electricity, water, and sewage systems are in state of disrepair. The lack of reliable electricity impacts on all aspects of life, including healthcare, education, and industry, which are near non-existent to date. Humanitarian challenges. The healthcare system in Gaza was previously under tremendous strain. Hospitals and clinics faced chronic shortages of medicine, medical supplies, and equipment. The blockades restricted the import of essential items and the movement of medical personnel, complicating emergency response and routine care. Now, with the destruction of these hospitals and clinics, the residents face even severe complications. Water and sanitation. Gaza's water crisis is severe. Over 97% of the water from the coastal aquifer is unsafe for human consumption due to over-extraction and contamination. Many households relied on desalinated or trucked water, which was expensive and not always available. Food security. The blockades and restrictions on agriculture and fishing had led to widespread food insecurity, with many families depending on food aid provided by international organizations. Currently, malnutrition rates are high. Conflict and violence. Gaza has experienced multiple rounds of violent conflict with Israel, resulting in significant loss of life and infrastructure damage. The frequent outbreaks of violence create a perpetual state of insecurity and fear amongst residents. Social challenges. Education system in Gaza was previously under strain due to overcrowded schools and damaged facilities and lack of resources. Despite these challenges, educational attainment was relatively high, but the opportunities for graduates were limited due to the economic situation. However, the destruction of many of these establishments, including higher education, will result in even less opportunities for the residents of Gaza. Mental health. The ongoing conflict and blockades and restrictions have profound psychological impacts on the population, particularly children. High levels of trauma, anxiety, and depression are reported, with limited mental health services available to address these needs. Environmental challenges. Pollution and waste management. Gaza faces significant environmental challenges, including inadequate waste management and pollution. The lack of proper waste disposal systems leads to health hazards and environmental degradation. International response and aid dependency. Humanitarian aid in Gaza is heavily dependent on international aid to meet basic needs. However, aid is often significantly insufficient to address the scale of the crisis and is subject to political conditions and funding fluctuations. Diplomatic stalemates. Efforts to broker lasting peace and address the root causes of Gaza's challenges are often stalled by political disagreements, both within the Palestinian territories and between the international community and regional actors. The exploration of how privilege and power is mobilized and how this adds to the interplay of multiple intersections that add to the experience of oppression is useful to understand. Separation often creates hierarchies that underpin racism and various similar structures of power. Where these boundaries of separation are telling of how power is exercised and who gets to do intellectual work in the first place. Challenging oppressions through distinct individual categories means that you only tackle one issue at a time. Whereas with intersectionality, when several categories are looked at across their overlapping intersections, allows potential biases to be challenged but also draw attention to alternative ways of conceptualizing intersectional subjects that enriches anti-racist work. Even though intersectionality and recognizing these challenges and these categories are interconnected is no longer novel, the framework continues to lie at the heart of theoretical analyses of social inequality that disrupts the logic of segregation that underlies Western knowledge. Intersectionality and its foundations in anti-racist politics can then seek to dismantle race, discrimination and bias in policy making, delivery and implementation. The multifaceted layers of the Gaza issue weave a narrative that underscores the pervasive impact of systematic injustices. Racism entrenched in historical narratives and geopolitical dynamics manifests itself in the unequal power structures that perpetuate the suffering of Gazans. The power of resilience. Gaza faces multifaceted challenges, including economic hardships, political instability, and social upheaval. The blockade imposed over a decade ago has significantly hampered the region's development and isolated its people. Despite these challenges, the people of Gaza exhibit remarkable resilience. They have learned to adapt, innovate, and find ways to survive amidst the toughest conditions. which have been demonstrated in the current conflict and even to date. Gaza, a region defined by geopolitical struggles and humanitarian crises, also faces issues of racism and discrimination. However, the resilience of its people amidst these challenges is remarkable. This presentation, and this slide in particular, explores the facets of racism impacting on Gaza, the extraordinary resilience of its inhabitants, and how these dynamics shape the region. So racism in Gaza can be understood through the multiple lenses, including the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, internal societal dynamics, and international perceptions. Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the most prominent form of racism impacting Gaza stems from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Palestinians in Gaza face systematic discrimination and dehumanization. The blockade imposed by Israel and Egypt, which severely restricts movement, trade, and access to basic necessities, can be viewed as a manifestation of institutionalized racism. But even now, the disparity in living conditions, freedom of movement, and access to resources between Israelis and Palestinians is stark. The portrayal of Palestinians, particularly Gazans, in certain media outlets often reinforces negative stereotypes, further entrenching racial prejudices. International perceptions. The international community's views and policies towards Gaza can also reflect racial biases. The disproportionate focus on security concerns over humanitarian needs, the framing of Gazans primarily as aggressors or victims, and the lack of robust international intervention to alleviate the humanitarian crisis can be seen as influenced by underlying racial prejudices. Resilience in Gaza. Despite the immense challenges, the resilience of Gaza's people is a testament to their strength and perseverance. This resilience manifests itself in various ways. One, for example, social cohesion. The people of Gaza maintain strong communal ties and social networks that provide support and solidarity. Families and communities come together to support one another, share resources, and offer emotional and psychological support in times of need. 2. Education and innovation. Education is highly valued in Gaza, and despite the difficult circumstances, educational attainment is relatively high. Many young Gazans pursue higher education and vocational training, hoping to create better futures for themselves and their families. Innovation and entrepreneurship are also emerging as pathways for economic empowerment, with young Gazans finding creative solutions to local problems. 3. Cultural expression. Art, music, literature, and other forms of cultural expression play a significant role in Gaza's resilience. These cultural activities provide an outlet for emotional expression, preserve the Palestinian identity, and foster a sense of pride and continuity. 4. Humanitarian efforts. Numerous local and international non-governmental organizations, NGOs, work tirelessly to provide humanitarian aid, medical care, education, and psychosocial support. The commitment of these organizations and their volunteers demonstrates a collective resilience and determination to improving living conditions. So the intersection of racism and resilience. The interplay between racism and resilience in Gaza is complex. The systematic discrimination and marginalization faced by Gazans fuels their resilience and resistance. The harsh realities of life under blockade and conflict galvanize a collective determination to survive and thrive against odds. Resistance and advocacy. Gaza's resilience also translates into various forms of resistance and advocacy. From peaceful protest to international advocacy, Gazans and their supporters continually fight for justice, equality, and the end of discriminatory practices. The global solidarity movement, which includes activists, scholars, and ordinary citizens, amplifies the voices of Gazans and seeks to address the systematic racism they face. So to conclude this slide, Gaza's story is one of profound struggle against racism and enduring resilience. The systematic discrimination imposed by external and internal forces challenges the daily lives of Gazans, yet their resilience remains unbroken. Understanding this dynamic is crucial for addressing the root causes of conflict and working towards just and equitable resolution. The resilience of Gaza's people serves as a powerful reminder of the human spirit's capacity to endure and overcome even the most severe adversities. Stories of hope. Peace and hope for Gaza are concepts that hold profound significance amidst the region's persistent struggles. The path to achieving these ideals is complex, requiring multifaceted efforts from local, regional, international actors. In this slide, I explore the prospects for peace and the sources of hope that can illuminate Gaza's future. The pathways of peace should include 1. Comprehensive peace negotiations. A lasting peace in Gaza hinges on successful negotiations between Israel and Palestine, including all relevant factions. These negotiations must address the core issues such as border security and the rights of its people. 2. Lifting the blockade and restrictions, which would allow the free movement of people and goods, spurring economic growth and improving living conditions. International support and diplomacy, where the international community, including the United Nations, European Union, United States, Arab countries, must play a proactive role in facilitating peace. This includes diplomatic pressure, economic incentives, and ensuring compliance with international laws and human rights standards. International peacekeeping forces could also help maintain stability during the transition to peace. Grassroots initiatives and civil society. Peace must be built from the ground up. Grassroots initiatives that promote dialogue, mutual understanding, and cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians are crucial. Civil society organizations, both within Gaza and internationally, can foster peace-building efforts through educational programs, cultural exchanges, and joint economic projects. And this all needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. From this, we have sources of hope. Sources of hope through youth and education, where Gaza's youth do represent a significant source of hope. Despite the challenges, many young people in Gaza are committed to their education, to their people, and aspire to contribute positively to their society. Educational institutions and the rebuilding of this are key in empowering the next generation to lead and innovate. Humanitarian aid and development need to continue so that they can alleviate immediate suffering and build the foundations for long-term resilience. International solidarity. The rich cultural heritage of Gaza and the global solidarity movement advocating for Palestinian rights and justice provides moral and practical support. This includes advocacy, awareness campaigns, and political pressure to influence policy changes in favour of peace and human rights. So the journey towards peace and hope for Gaza is arduous but not impossible. It requires a holistic approach that addresses political, economic, social, and humanitarian dimensions. By fostering unity, lifting the blockade and restrictions, engaging in comprehensive peace negotiations, and supporting grassroots and international efforts, the foundations for lasting peace can be built. Achieving peace in Gaza will not only transform the lives of its residents, but also contribute to broader stability and harmony in the Middle East. So, in conclusion, the theme of hope in Gaza is not just a mere sentiment, it is a testament to the resilience, courage and determination of its people. Despite the challenges they face, Gazans continue to persevere and holding on to hope for a better tomorrow. Thank you for listening.